Wukong is a complete masterpiece, in my personal opinion. I think it has earned Game of the Year 10 out of 10. I have no doubt in my mind that it should be a top contender to be Game of the Year. Now, I want to go over my personal opinions of the game. I want to go over my review of the game. There are some things that I do have complaints about. No game is any game that I played doesn't have a 10 out of 10 record where there's no complaints, but doesn't mean that the value of the score has dropped at all by any means, because of the game and the experience overall has led up to a point where those complaints are very minute and minuscule. Now, I want to start and say that no game in any development, no game in any company is deserved Game of the Year. Now, that needs to be earned, especially by the players and their feedback to the company and the game in the making. It definitely is something that needs to be earned. That being said, my main review and why I think it should be Game of the Year is overall, it breaks down to, is the game fun? Now, there's a lot of things that go into the fun, right? So if you're doing a game here and then fun all the way over here, in order to bridge that gap, fun has a multitude of other things that need to encompass it, right? So one of the main key takeaways that I look at when a game is fun to me, and why I think it deserves to be Game of the Year, is encompasses all those things that is needed. So for instance, if we're going to do top of the list is fun, and then stemming off of fun, it's going to go down to game experience, the story, the gameplay, how much time do you spend when you're not playing the game and you reminisce about the game? And then also, I like to not always recommend this because there are plenty of short games that, to me, I still reminisce about and I still find fun, the experience, the gameplay and stuff like that. But I also do want to put into the key takeaway for fun is times played in the game. So basically, like, not so much replayability, like do you have to play the game over and over and over again, but how much time do you actually go into the game and you actually explore it because of the fun experience that it has, the gameplay is good, and the story is really well written. So these things are all that I take into account when it makes a game fun. That being said, I think Wukong has been something for me that I continuously play over and over again. It's something that it hasn't crossed my mind where I don't think about it, read on the lore, read on the game, find out different secrets, explore different areas, play New Game Plus. I put in countless hours into this game already, not only on PC, but on my PS5. On my PS5, I already have New Game Plus 2, and then on my PC, I'm starting New Game Plus already. So New Game Plus 1. I want to platinum it on PS5, and then I also want to platinum it on Steam. Now, granted, Steam has something else other than platinum. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but I just want to do 100% completion on the game. To talk a little bit more about the review and my complaints, there are minor complaints about it, but for me, I have a wife, I have a kid, I have a full-time job/business that I go to. So whatever little chance that I do have to play a video game, it really matters to me that the game encompasses everything that fun is, because the whole point of a game for me as an extracurricular hobby, because you're not making any money off of it, is it needs to break down into all those key things that I talked about when it comes to gameplay, experience, story, how much time you put into the game. And I want to feel a sense of escapism, so that way I can escape my real life, everything that's going on. I put on the headphones and I'm completely entrenched into the story. That being said, I think that Wukong has done all of those things and has delivered 100 times, especially with being a small time company that is realistically unknown. It's gotten tons of backlash from social media, game journalists, and all other people's political ideologies and the rhetoric when it comes to what dissolves into being a video game, what it should be, what should it not be, what genders, the inclusivity, the exclusivity, all these things, and this game still ended up becoming on top. I felt the same way when it came to Harry Potter, especially I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan. I haven't read the books. My sister has. She's read the books plenty of times, but I do go into the lore of Harry Potter. I watched plenty of YouTube videos that go into the lore of Harry Potter, and I generally think that it's a fantastic world, and the world building in itself is fantastic and beautiful. But another thing that bothered me about the video game coming out was everyone everyone's opinions on it when it comes to J.K. Rowling and everything else like that, when it comes to her ideals and what she feels, and she publicly announces it on X and talks about it, and then other people want to talk about how bad the game is going to be because of X, not to buy the game because of X. I felt that same thing when it came to Wukong, and I'm so glad that the company, that the group of, I believe it was 30 people, I'm so glad the way they handled the pressure from all these game journalists and everybody else talking shit on it, because at the end of the day, they had the simple goal in mind of making a fun experience, a fun game to have that people are going to enjoy. Everything that I mentioned about the encompassing of fun. Because I think in a small team, a small development, especially from an unknown company, a Chinese company one at that, you already get tons of scrutiny for not being American. They had the goal and sole purpose in mind of just delivering a fun aspect to somebody that can have some type of form of escapism. As soon as you put on the headphones, you can play the video game. Yes, there were minor issues, and yes, there's tons of complaints that I complain about, but they were so minor and minuscule that I had no issue overlooking these things. If I was pissed off for 5-10 minutes, it was such a small insignificance to the grand scheme of the game, and the entire scope of the game was so beautifully directed and driven. I can't even go over how many times I watched the music videos of of Black Myth Wukong. And well, I guess technically it would be Sung Wukong because it is his story in the past life. And getting a deep emotional connection just off a music video, and I put it in with the Chinese audio. So like I had no idea what these people were saying, but to me, it was still beautiful. I still regarded it as a high, beautifully written story that could appeal to me in an emotional sense, and then also in inherently childlike sense, I would like to say, because my YouTube channel has been around for a while, but I took a break for 6 years plus because I wanted to develop my business and I wanted to get more focused into my career. And not to mention, it was really easy to take away from gaming for 6 years and focus on those things, not only because I wanted to make myself better and do better, but because there was no fun games at the time to where I really thought, hey, is this a good escapism after I'm doing these things to where I can actually relax, have a good time, forget about all the political shit, forget about all the things that's going on in my life right now, and genuinely have fun and reminisce about the game. I can't tell you how many times I thought about a video game and immediately was like, oh yeah, that was a fun game. The only problem is the game came out when I was in middle school. Nothing in the 6-year time gap of me not playing video games and then playing video games again have I thought about a game that really brought in the initial childlike experience that I had back when I was in middle school. Granted, there are a couple of games that are going against the stride of this political ideology, and I really appreciate that. Warhammer being another one of them. Fantastic game, very beautifully done. I'm not even finished it yet, but that's going to be a game of the year contender for me as well. Now I need to finish it. I need to go more into it for sure. But as of where it stands right now, there's nothing in my mind where I think that Wukong won't get game of the year. Just based off all the forums I'm reading, everyone else's experience. Yes, people do have minor complaints about it, especially when it goes to the chapters and the specific realms that you go into. Yes, I have my own chapters. My own chapters that I hate and my own experiences that I don't like, and I'll go over that towards the end of the video. Very minute, it could be thrown away. And if they just fix it, tweak it a little bit with either a patch or in the DLC, then it's completely fine. It will do 10 out of 10 astronomically. Like there's no way in hell if they don't fix these small little things that the game just won't be a 10 out of 10 for people. That being said, in my personal opinion, I think that when it comes to the game, the gameplay, the experience, it bridges the gap from the starting company of being unknown, and they're trying to deliver fun and beautiful games. It bridges everything. It really does encompass all of the things that I think of a game when I do truly believe that it's fun. Moving forward, my small complaints, and they are small, and anyone who's watched any of my other videos, especially the one that's getting blown up right now and I'm getting grilled in the comment section, which I don't mind because I honestly don't have a problem with people's opinions. They're your opinions. You're allowed to have your opinions, just like how I'm allowed to have mine. There are some gimmicks in the game that don't need to be there, and it's not their fault, I don't think, because I want to think about a small team of 30 trying to take in multiple different games that they believe that are fun, extrapolate that into their own gameplay, and they may have taken some things where they think is a good idea and actually turns out to be not so great because they're gimmick. My two major complaints that I have are, one, the enemy enemies run away too much, and 2, the health pool is way too high on enemies that run away too much. They pretty much coincide together, which is completely fine. I'm used to games like Souls-like games. I love really difficult games where it feels really intense. It's another reason why I love Space Marine 2. And I just got into that. When I'm being bombarded by enemies and there's a tough enemy and it's up to me to come out and dodge and do different things and figure out different strategies in order to overcome this obstacle, I absolutely love that, because as a game mechanic, it's not making it prolong the fight. It's also not making it so annoying. When it comes to having the health pool so large, okay, yeah, that's fine, but we're gonna need an aggressive enemy then at that point. We can't have it where the gimmick is run away. Couple hits, run away, couple hits, run away. That being said, if most bosses were like, in my personal opinion, like Wukong, Erlang, and Yellow Long. I know it's probably pronounced Loong. I like saying Yellow Long. If those were the type of enemies that were out throughout all chapters, phenomenal, 10 out of 10, no gimmicks. There's no complaints from me. I literally would have 0 complaints. I could see how people have other complaints when it comes to bug issues, things not rendering, and then chapter 3 Pagoda Realm when it comes to the jail area where you're getting your health lowered. Again, to some people that may be a gimmick. To me, I didn't find it so annoying to the point where I was like, why is this even here? It made it a little bit difficult. I see people struggling it. I see people, I think, having over a couple hundred deaths in that realm. So I could definitely see their viewpoint and why people complain about that. But in my personal opinion, I just don't think it's that big of a gimmick to where I'm like, oh yeah, this is a gimmick. One, you can run through it. You can ignore it. You cannot fight. You don't have to fight those enemies. You can just run away from them. Another thing that I love about this video game, unlike Souls-like, the mobs and the cannon fodder are not so much to where it becomes kind of annoying. I love how many bosses there are in this game. I love that I can stumble into an area and boom, boss fight, because it's such a higher reward instead of having to go through cannon fodder. Yeah, cannon fodder has their own place and stuff like that, but they need to be 1 hits, 2 hits, 3 hits, just like Dark Souls 3, Sekiro, Elden Ring. The enemies can't be so much so that where they have a giant health pool and it becomes the cannon fodder becomes these astronomically boring and annoying fights to have. But besides those 2 complaints that I have on the video game, I think this game did a beautiful job encompassing everything that needed to be when it came to a fun experience where you could sit down, turn on your computer, turn on your PS5, whatever you needed to do to escape from the real world. So plugging that into everything that I have, and basically with the little time that I have, especially when I'm balancing my own real life, I don't see how this game could not earn Game of the Year. Granted, there are contenders that are going to go against it for sure, but nothing quite seems as close as to it. Especially right now, thinking about it, I'm reminiscing even in the fact of playing it already, beating it, finishing the story, editing it, spending hours on edits and stuff like that, breaking down the cuts, doing everything that I can, and just still looking back and having fun. Even as I edit my own videos when it comes to Wukong, I have fun looking at the things that I need to cut, looking at things that I need to put away, trying to make something funny, try to make it either, okay, do I want this a fun moment? Do I want this to be a whole gameplay? Like, how do I want to do this? I have fun watching my own edits. That's very rare for me because I don't like the sound of my voice. I don't like the way that I sometimes act in my videos. I like to be as less monotone as possible, and I like my energy because I don't know if it's becoming comfortable with camera, comfortable with whatever, but even so, all these things and my personal reasons why I don't like it, my editing and stuff like that, the simple fact that I'm editing Wukong, Space Marine 2, and looking at the footage that I had fun and seeing the smile on my face just goes to show you the true intent behind these developers and what they were making in this video game. They truly wanted to make it to where you could reminisce, have fun, and want to come back. I am beyond excited to hear about the DLC. I'm beyond excited to play the DLC. I'm beyond excited to New Game Plus 6 this thing. I don't want this to stop. I literally do not want this to stop. I'm so glad that it had hype, and I am so glad that it over-delivered in the hype. I think it was beautifully written. I think it was beautifully done. I think the gameplay was fantastic. The music videos alone could be their own separate one, their own separate entity, and I still would give it a 10 out of 10 because I think that even though the music videos, I couldn't understand anything, it told such a phenomenal story where it didn't need to know anything that was being said. The closest thing I can count for these music videos is, if you guys ever seen Up, that beginning sequence in Up where it gives you and pulls you on the heartstrings, and you know, it made me tear up because it's such a beautifully written story. The first 2-3 minutes were no audio. It just told the story with some music in the background, and it tug at, but you didn't have to know anything else other than the story and watching those people live their lives. And you're like, I get it. It's beautiful. I think this game is game of the year without a doubt. But yeah, so that's my review on Wukong. I had a phenomenal time. I had minor issues to the game where after as a whole, I couldn't think of anything else that were going to triumph those complaints. The fun was just too fun. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video.